Good evening and welcome to the August 28th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. First up, vote minutes of August 21st. Anyone?
Move to approve the minutes of the August 21st meeting. I felt them to be complete.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, Susan?
I corrected them because I forgot to put Mr. Robbins' list. He was on a lot of those, so I thought I'd better accept.
Well, you could have forgotten me, because I was never here.
We'll accept those corrections.
For the record, please note Mr. Patton's tardiness. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, request for a oh, I didn't do my rules.
Oh, yeah.
Hold the phone.
For the audience here?
At this time, please silence all your electronic devices. If you're gonna hold a private conversation, please take it outside. This meeting is being recorded by FCTV. If there's anyone else recording this meeting, please identify yourself for the record. If you're here to speak on any matter, get in line. Before the commission, we encourage you to do so. Please do so from the podium, state your name for the record, and speak into the microphone. Next up, request for continuance for determination of applicability. Karen Olcott, 141 Fay Road, Woods Hole, Mass. For permission to construct an addition over existing patio and install mitigation plantings.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until September 11th.
So move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Request for a continuance under a notice of intent. Scott and Nyla Lutz, 109 Madeline Road, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, and rebuild the existing structure to include upgraded Title V septic system, new driveway, rebuild the dock, mitigation plantings, invasive species management, and all associated clearing, excavated grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until September 18th.
So move.
Second?
Reason?
We have a motion and a second. This second one, a third one?
Oh, no, I think this is
This is the first.
First.
Well, we had the hearing.
Had the continuance to now.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
okay.
had the hearing, we
Okay.
continue it to now, they're doing a complete redesign.
So we have a motion and a second. All
good.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next up, requests for determination of applicability. Justin Morgan, 598 Walkpoint Highway, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to upgrade to a Title V septic system.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, a call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Next up, Jeff Bada, 360 Shorewood Drive, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, and rebuild existing dwelling within a flood zone AE.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, a call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Next up, Karen Olcott, that has been continued. Jeffrey Oppenheim, 123 Adamancet Road, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to vista prune according to FWR 10.1810B.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the staff is recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Buzzards Bay Coalition, Sippowiset Road and Gunning Point Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to continue maintenance of Phragmites at Flume Pond and Gunning Point Pond.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we were recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So move.
Second?
Question,
Motion,
who's doing the work?
Buzzards Bay Coalition, Jack Sidar from the 300.
No, I mean, who's the applicator?
I'd have to double check. I thought they were working with Politan, but I'd double check. I'll double check.
The original person was a Politan.
Yeah, I think the
It
original.
was not Politan.
Oh, it was not?
It was a
Okay.
guy from Connecticut or something.
Connecticut,
I
okay.
went out a
Yeah.
couple of times.
I can double check for you, Courtney.
He's
Okay,
a
no
guy
problem.
who's done it
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. So we,
you okay with it then?
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Richard and Patricia Torre, 57 Cape Cod Road, West Falmouth, Mass., for after-the-fact permission to install a water service to the dwelling and rebuild a section of stone wall.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until September 25th.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second for continuance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Sean and Rebecca Doherty, 15 Stratford Road, Falmouth, Mass., for permission to remove invasive species and replant with native plants.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, a call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Continued hearing under a notice of intent. That has been continued. Brings us to vote order of conditions. Bruno Gallinelli, Fazio LP, 117 Surf Drive, Falmouth, Mass.
Mr. Chairman? As we come to that, I'd like to have a minute before we do any
Jamie?
discussion.
Susan's right, we just need to clarify the quorum on this one,
On Madeline?
on Surf
No, on
Drive?
Surf Drive.
No, on Surf Drive,
Okay.
because you're taking a vote. So Mark, wait a minute, let me count here. Courtney and Russell, you're not on the quorum for this, so it's gonna be Mark, Peter, Steve, Jamie, Betsy, Maury, and Kevin. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So this is, did you already read it, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you read it.
Okay, hang on one second. So this was the outdoor kitchen in the velocity zone. Just for the board to know, the day after the hearing, we drove by the property and they were taking it down. So the kitchen itself is not there. So I think one of the issues was the kitchen, the other was the unpermitted or after-the-fact structures, and then we have the fences to deal with. So, but the kitchen itself, I believe is completely removed, but we should put a finding and a special condition that it stays gone, yes, correct.
And the patio, as far as recently as I think yesterday I went by, the patio's still there.
No, and I think one of their original, yeah, they had swapped,
I just
yeah,
wanted on the record
yeah,
that.
no, and that's right, we'll have to make a finding that the patio,
And we accept that.
yeah, that's fine, that's what one of the amendments was, so. Relocated patio,
The,
removed kitchen,
Fireplace.
no, but the cobbles on the driveway, that was,
That's fine.
Administratively.
yeah, the
That was-
staff did that.
okay.
We didn't feel it would have been an issue even
Okay.
if, during the original hearing. If you feel that the staff shouldn't have done that, we won't do it
No,
in the past.
no,
Well,
yep,
in the future.
Why
Okay,
don't you just make a finding, though,
okay,
that this is a change from the
Okay.
original that was
yeah,
administratively
driveway approved by
and we know
staff,
about that.
okay, driveway cobbles
That
approved by
affects lot
staff.
coverage too, no?
We don't
Impervious.
worry about it.
No.
Well, but impervious is runoff.
Is that a zoning, should I bring that to the zoning board attention?
Well, does it make it more than,
It makes
I don't
40%.
know.
We don't know, we don't know.
I don't know.
But it does make it more
We don't
impervious.
go, I don't look at percent lot coverage, cause it's
Right.
not something we deal with, so.
Zoning.
I rarely look at percent lot coverage unless it's brought to my attention.
Especially if it's impervious or pervious.
Let's see, I got the
Yeah.
plan right here, what is,
I think they put the coverage.
so he says zoning notes, maximum lot coverage, 20%. Existing. So he says proposed lot coverage by structures, dwelling, deck, and stairs is 24.3%. You must,
And you can do
Stairs.
40%.
You can go 40%, and I don't think that
Even
parking
trips it.
is the same size as the house, so,
it says maximum lot coverage by structure is 20%.
The house.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
what-
everything
Okay,
else.
okay, got it, okay.
But
Well, I
like
mean,
you
I'll
said,
let
that's not our
Noreen
purview.
know. And if, I'll just make them aware. Okay,
Mark, did you have something?
Oh, yeah, although
okay, Mark.
kind of moot, but I want to say it anyway, because it's been annoying me. A little history. My sister has a house in Bay Head, New Jersey. The house, like many houses on the beach there, it's built with a concrete block foundation on a slab. Foundation's about waist high. Sandy came through. And two things happened. First of all, Bay Head was fortunate enough in that the beach adjacent to Bay Head had a seawall hidden underneath the sand. So this storm came through, towns to the north and the south of Bay Head were devastated. Most of the beach houses were swept away. Bay Head was not. I walked around there quite a bit after the storm, and one of the things I noted was there were many foundations sitting around, these concrete block foundations I was talking about, perfect, fully there, except for the fact that the house was gone, blown down, crashed. And I think any concern about those tables, which he just tore down, any concern about them being waterborne debris is totally unfounded in my mind. I'm sorry that it had to go that way, and I'm sorry I didn't have some information 2 weeks ago when we talked about this, but I did that, and then I imagined what Mr. Wall, our good friend Attorney Wall, would say had he read the regs. And he would say, construction of new structures, including buildings, sheds, and garages, and additions, is not permitted. And he would go down that, as he's done in other cases. It said building, sheds, garage. It didn't say dog houses. It didn't say dining room tables or anything. And he would go down that and said, it's not listed there, it's not forbidden. And I think we got off on a limb there, thinking about whatever we were thinking about, and I think it was uncalled for. That's what I want to say.
may I make a comment?
Absolutely.
Absence of that kind of damage doesn't mean it would never happen.
I agree.
I've seen houses in places, walls like that were completely taken away, and all that was left was the slab. So,
Katrina was one of them.
It could happen.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have the building code that we have now too, because it, it's in theory to keep some of that stuff from happening. The other thing is that, like having that outdoor kitchen, I mean, even if it was tied down, to use a term, it's the wave action that it prevents, or flow through.
diverts.
And it
You know.
diverts it and deflects
Well,
it as well.
as we think about that, it is quite a bit smaller than the stair enclosures or elevator enclosures that are up and down the coast.
Need a new set?
So
But
they're,
one's
at risk
kinda
also, although
one's
we
kind of
say-
Well,
necessary.
they are at risk, but the
It's the
only
same,
way
they
to get
haven't
into
changed,
an
have they?
elevated house is through a stairway.
I think so.
right, and we'll
The
allow
regs
great big stairwells.
allow a certain
Okay.
amount of
But I
that.
can come and get on the set.
Are we gonna talk about the fence?
You guys can talk about whatever you'd like. So we have 2 fences, in the velocity zone. And then we have the picket fence, the white picket fence that was installed along the front of the property in the velocity zone.
So I understand that the fence on the
East side,
the
It was
east
on the west
side
side.
and the west side were pre-existing.
the west belonged to the other guy.
Sorry?
Didn't the west side
I
fence
didn't-
belong to the other
I didn't
guy?
think it belonged to him, I think he said it was there.
I thought he said he
There's
got a
some
permit
fences
for it.
there, not all of them.
The
Hang
gentleman
on,
that spoke.
hang on,
Yeah.
hang on.
Right.
The one on
West
the
side?
was pre-existing.
Are we talking, okay,
The left side
I'm
is,
looking at the house.
yeah.
From
From,
the
you're
beach.
standing on the road.
I'm standing on the road, I'm looking at the house.
Left side is
West, east.
West, east.
East, yeah.
We're saying the west side was there. I mean, that's what we heard testimony.
Okay. But there's a white fence there too, right?
A new one?
Yeah, there's 2.
There's 2.
Oh, there's one in front of the other guys?
I believe so, yeah.
You have the pictures?
I don't have pictures.
it on here?
Well, the new fence, see, I never knew if the stockade fence that was on the east side, which would be the right side of the house, whether, even though it was there, was, you know, like everything, was it ever permitted? And then he replaced it with a vinyl fence that's even bigger. I don't know. And, you know, you don't know how they're, I don't know.
Now, you did not allow
We didn't
the Walker Street property to have a
fence.
stockade fence.
We did not.
Walkers, no, we didn't.
No, not while, yeah, I said, yeah, you didn't allow the Walker Street property that
But
you
the
need
argument is if it's
looking at.
pre-existing, right?
Well, no, because if it was never permitted, that doesn't mean
Well, you
it's.
got testimony from one guy that says his fence was permitted.
Yes, the west side.
I don't know where he lives.
He lives on the west side.
He lives on the west side.
He's on the
Okay.
corner. He was on the west.
So now we're talking about the east side.
The east side, which is the big white vinyl fence.
Yeah.
Which is brand new.
Yes,
And the picket fence, which is brand new.
correct.
Well, if you're not gonna allow them, why not say
Say-
any new fences have to be removed?
It's up to you guys.
Well, I
I'd
mean,
agree with that,
I'm,
because we've been pretty consistent with fencing. Yeah, and then,
I'm neutral on fencing, but to make it simpler, just say any new fencing
I would,
should be removed.
if I
You're
could,
not, you can't say anything. You're not on the quorum.
I just think
Sorry.
it was a wording issue there that's
thought he
concerning me.
Courtney's on the quorum.
He is not on the
No,
quorum.
Courtney and
Nor is
Russ.
That's right, you're right.
Betsy, I'm neutral on the fencing as well.
Always flip-flopping on that.
The picket fence too?
I just think we've been very consistent on no fencing. That's, I mean, I'm not neutral or not neutral.
The
I'm just-
issue with the Walker Street fence, the first thing about so the thing that differs between this fence and the Walker Street fence is the Walker Street fence was gonna completely enclose that property. It was also being constructed, you had a 6-foot high stockade fence on a 3-foot high.
On top of.
On top of a 3-foot high
retaining.
block wall, which you didn't allow. So you didn't allow the block wall, the 3-foot high block
Or
wall
the fencing.
on Walker Street. So,
May I remind, and I don't know if it's anyone, I don't think you'd be the only one who would remember this.
Not permitted.
We had something on,
Excuse me.
trying to think of what it's called. What's it called by the BBC? What's that road
Grand Ave.
called?
Grand Ave, that was the one for
Grand Ave.
safety.
That, no.
Yeah.
No, you're talking about the Montauk one all the way down.
Okay, yes, you're right.
There was a
Grand Ave,
Grand
you're right,
Ave
yes. Yep.
between, you pass the
BBC,
BBC and you're on your
mhm.
way to Bristol Beach. And there was a corner there.
Yep.
And they wanted to put up a fence, and we said,
No.
you can put up vegetation. So that would be our
Well, there was
preference.
one on the far side of Bristol Beach that we did allow it because it was pre-existing and permitted.
Well, pre-existing permitted is
It's
different.
different.
Yeah.
It's
But if
not
you're putting
new.
something
New
new,
construction.
So
and
we wouldn't allow the new one.
some of the issue is you wanna be protected from,
Wave action and flotsam and jetsam.
And we-
Now,
yeah, that's not what the homeowner wants. They wanna be protected from people
Concerned
looking
about
in
that wording.
and somebody coming onto their property, so you can put vegetation
Well,
along
picket
there.
fence doesn't do much of that.
Well,
And that has
that's
a
what
wall.
I'm saying. Well, for whatever
Yeah.
reason, instead of a fence, you can put vegetation,
Yeah.
and then it adds the additional positive aspect of providing some protection against wave
Well, and
action.
in the case of this property, they already have a wall in the front, so they have that physical barrier.
So they don't need the picket fence.
is it clear that the fences, all of the fences or some of the fences were permitted at some point?
None of his.
None
That's
of
a
it?
hard
Next
thing to
door.
prove. Well, I guess it's not really.
No, because the other guy had a
For our
permit.
jurisdiction.
Okay, so,
Well, it's all our
none
jurisdiction.
of the,
No,
none of the
because what I'm saying
fence,
is-
I can say this, none of the fencing, none of the white vinyl fencing, stockade or picket or otherwise, was not permitted on his property under the original order of conditions.
Okay, then
Yeah,
it
then-
goes.
then
Then it
Then-
goes.
So put it
There
in
it
there, all new
goes.
fencing, gone.
Okay.
You don't like that?
She doesn't care, she's neutral too.
Okay.
You don't
Me?
like that?
You're neutral.
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, no, I just, like, I know what Courtney's concerned about the wording, so I'm not gonna say new, I'm gonna say unpermitted fence on the
Unpermitted.
on the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
project's locus.
Yeah.
And that'll cover the white vinyl stockade fence that went in and the picket fence.
Just the precedent setting, that's the problem.
yeah, that's the
Go out
precedent.
one, go out one. All right,
To tell you the truth, I think vegetation.
I make a motion to accept as discussed.
Second.
Wait, 1 second, and you want a special condition that that outdoor kitchen do not be recreated, correct? Okay.
do we need anything in there about the rent station and the,
I'll put that in, as a finding about all the unpermitted
Accessory.
accessories that
All
went,
okay.
I mean,
Anything else from the board?
Well, I think maybe just to make sure we have square footage, because the rent station and all those other little amenities that weren't permitted, if they add up to 200 square feet, then we do allow 200 square feet in a V zone, but nothing, nothing to exceed that.
Well,
That
and we
he just
allowed
doesn't-
his, vestibule, right? I don't remember how much that was.
it's like 400 or something. Pretty
So
big.
he's already over the 200.
You mean the inside where we allowed them to enclose?
Yeah, so really, they,
You had the raised platform, the rent station, and the concrete landing.
so he exceeded the 200 square feet.
You needed to put, the raised platform, you have to have it for the mechanics, don't you?
Right, I
Yeah,
understand
you
that,
have to
yeah.
have that for the mechanics.
Yeah. And you have to have a stairway. But he-
Let them have a rent station.
The concrete landing.
Otherwise, it's gonna be.
I think just
Okay.
The
leave
biggest
that,
problem
leave
is
that
just
alone,
After the fact stuff is what drives me crazy.
yeah.
Just call it what it is
Well,
and deal with it. you
Well,
know?
Surf Drive again, we had one that, I think Mike Porcelli had it, that they had a 200 square foot addition, and then they wanted to just put like a small, about as long as this, a porch in front of it. Well, it exceeded, he already did the 200, and he tried to say, well, it's really not the structure, it's just the little deck off of it, and we wouldn't let him do it because of the 200 square feet, because then all of a sudden 200 is actually 380.
Well, I wouldn't count the enclosed area, because your regulations say addition, so.
Addition, right.
Yeah, so I wouldn't count the enclosed area that you
No, 'cause that was
originally
already there.
permitted under the pool, but I can add up the rent station and the square footage of the enclosed rent station and the platform and add it up and say that, this square footage is gonna be, subtracted from the 200, blah, blah, blah,
Right,
blah,
yeah.
blah. Okay,
Well,
okay.
just so they don't come back a year later and go, oh, and we really want an AC pad. And then that's 298 feet, square feet, and then it's
It's on- yeah.
370, and then, because everybody takes a bite of the apple and they think we forget about the first 200 they already took, that they have no more left. They ate the whole pie and the whole apple, and they just can't come in for another 200, and another 200, and another 200, or.
Okay, I got it.
All you're left with is a.
So just make a
apple
finding that all
Yep.
200 square feet has been used up, and there's no future
Well, I don't
expansion.
know if that's true. I
No,
have
I'm
to
just
add
saying,
it up.
whatever you have to do,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have to add it up.
We split all the hairs?
Mm-hmm.
Gone.
Okay.
Well, it's consistency.
Yeah. All right.
I made a motion, she seconded it.
Yep, we have a motion, and a second, no more discussion. Let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
Mark has officially abstained.
Now,
All right.
that's an official abstain,
Mm-hmm.
None of us in here abstain.
correct?
All right. Other business, request by the League of Women Voters to plant 10-plus trees at the Peterson Farm.
Yeah,
Would
so,
this be an go ahead, I'm sorry.
what was that?
Well, no, it's not in our jurisdiction. It's just-
No, it's
Sorry.
in,
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
explain
yeah,
it. I'll explain it in a minute. They're calling it their Centennial Grove Project to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and the founding of the League of Voters. The League of Women Voters proposes to plant a grove of 10 tupelo trees, one for each decade, at the restored vernal pool area in the Peterson Farm. It's not really a vernal pool, but the site was selected with the Falmouth Tree Warden, the Conservation Commission, with Mark Kasperzik, your land manager, and the 300 Committee. The trees will be watered first year with the assistance of the local Girl Scouts and others, and an engraved boulder will be placed marking the grove. Planting will take place in May of 2020 on a date chosen by the Public Works. The engraved text will read, in recognition of the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and the founding of the League of Women Voters, a grove of tupelo trees was planted on this site in 2020 by the League of Women Voters in Falmouth with the assistance of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. So where this is going is when you enter, when you're heading down to the farm, there's the parking lot, there's the new kiosk that was set up, and then there was an area that was overgrown by invasives, and my staff with the DPW and the 300 Committee, we removed all of those thickets, kind of exposed a little wetland that was in here, and we've been working with the tree warden, and Jeremiah has been great finding us plant material, and with AmeriCorps' help, we've been reestablishing a native plant community around that.
Is that where the little bridge is, that little
No.
walkway? Okay,
No, so if you're going down, it's right where the farm buildings are
Yep,
right here.
yep.
It's that area right
Okay,
there.
yep.
It was completely overgrown. You would never even know anything was in there. Years ago, when I first started, the Coast Guard helped me clean that little area out for Earth Day. And they found asbestos tiles and everything else, and Coast Guard was great. They got rid of the asbestos for me, but, so, they wanted to have, I think, a larger project, but then scaled it back, so, they
Great.
had,
Sounds
so I
good.
think, so,
I move
give
that,
your blessing.
I move that we give it our blessing.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Of course you may. There you go.
I would like to resign my representation on the Community Preservation Committee as a representative of the Conservation Commission. I have discussed this. I am now on the Falmouth Housing Authority Board. They are short a representative. I was going to accept the role from the Falmouth Housing Authority and resign this seat with your permission.
Can we not give it to you?
You certainly cannot give it to me. I may just ignore you, but
Play two roles?
no.
Oh,
Well, thank you for what you've done for the last
And
couple
Russ
of
is
years.
already on the CPC, so we are,
So we haven't lost we won't lose representation.
Technically, we're supposed to have somebody, but we're
We
gonna just let it fly, so.
hopefully it's not
Because you
questioned
can't,
in town
you don't
meeting.
technically
I'm in
fill
a,
that.
right, in other words, I'm in a
At large.
Appointed,
large, correct.
Okay.
And my term doesn't expire till July.
Would you like to have a representative from?
I would like to for a few months.
Would anybody be interested in that? No?
why don't you take a
What if
week?
for a few months, you have somebody you wanna get even with?
You volunteering, Kevin?
No,
CPC is an interesting committee.
I have enough
been
interesting
on it.
things on my plate. Thank you very much.
I've been there and done that one.
Anybody? You wanna take a,
You've been on it,
No,
haven't you?
no,
Courtney's
Oh,
been
I know.
on it.
I'm pesticides.
He's pesticides.
Yes, you are.
I mean, I think the interests will be protected, you know, and of the conservation.
Why don't we, now that,
I'm not
like
gonna
Steve-
change my point of view.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
now that we know, why don't we we'll discuss it at the next hearing and see if anybody mulls it over who may
Mhm.
be
Yeah,
interested.
I-
And serving
I
on
could
an
potentially
interim
be, But I
basis.
can't be on right now because I'm an applicant. I mean, we are an applicant,
right,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
but once we
Right.
we can
Once we-
actually,
give out, once we're into the construction phase, then I would potentially do it.
Mr. Chairman,
If-
I'm quite
if
certain
nobody
Betsy
else
will
is
always be
eager.
an applicant.
No.
I
Why
wouldn't
don't we
allow
ta-
her to serve.
We'll take a week, we'll put it on the
It's too nice
next
to bother
agenda.
you, Betsy. It's
Let's
just,
do that.
yeah.
But would
And
you
then if
accept that?
somebody decides they
accept
wanna
that,
serve in
and
the interim
On behalf of the
basis
board,
until
thank you for
next
your
June.
Participation.
Yeah, I would potentially do it, but I don't wanna do it until
After you.
I understand that.
under contract.
No, I understand that.
So your conflict of interest is passed.
Right.
Well, do I have your permission to relay that information directly to the housing authority, or would you like to do that more formally?
No, you're fine, you can relay the information that you
I
resigned
was
your
asking the chairman.
Oh. You're such a brat sometimes, Steve.
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
You're good. Thank you.
So you're still on it, but
I
you're
am.
playing a different, I mean, you're
He's in a different,
Role
in a
change.
different role.
yeah.
But, so
Housing.
you're still on it and you can
Right.
still, you
The
still
problem
know
with
what
the new role
concerns
is
are.
I pick up another committee because of the switch. Because now I'm on the housing, what's it called?
I asked Carol about that, we'll have to discuss that.
Oh, okay.
The working group.
The working
That's
group.
kind of a, we weren't sure if it was the housing authority did that or was the
Okay.
affordable housing group, so we'll discuss that. I think you're
All right, one last motion.
right.
Motion to adjourn.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We're adjourned.